Great. Thanks, Jeff. Everybody hear me okay? Okay, perfect. Happy to be here today to talk about our audio tour. The USS Midway Museum, located in San Diego, right on the waterfront downtown. Pre-COVID, a very busy place. Um, we were seeing about 1.4 million annual daytime guests on the ship, making us the most visited historic ship museum in the world. Very popular on TripAdvisor here in San Diego. And we have always had an audio tour. We opened in 2004, at the same time that Guide ID started out. And we've always included an audio tour as part of our guest experience in the price of admission. We've always believed it's very important that if you want your visitors to hear the stories you want to tell them, you need to make that an easy process for them. And we have found that the audio guides are the way to go in that regard. So we've had a bit of an evolution in the hardware, which is a big part of whether or not your audio tour is successful or not successful in the eyes of your visitors. Started out with a very basic player that had a numbered keypad, and so all our tour stops had to be numbered. It worked well. The size of the player was great, but then we started to expand the size of the audio tour itself as we opened new spaces throughout the ship and new exhibits. We added new languages, and so the memory of the smaller player could no longer handle the size of our tours. So we made a decision to switch away to a more of a digital platform, created a really cool, what we thought was a really cool interactive audio tour with some of the same simple functionality as the simpler player, but with a lot of more bells and whistles, which we were pretty excited about. And it turned out our guests weren't very excited about that. They told us very quickly that it wasn't the type of interface that they were interested in using, at least at the time. And so we made the decision to go back to a more simple audio guide rather quickly. We had to use a much larger guide, both in the terms of memory and just in bulk. It was a big, long audio wand, which again would function just fine, but we're a big ship. Our flight deck is 4 acres in and of itself, and walking around with a big audio guide around your neck can get very uncomfortable, especially in the heat of the summer in San Diego. So we were kind of looking around for a better solution, and well, lo and behold, we got one, and the Guide ID podcatcher, which we'll talk about a little more in detail. And that's where we are today. Again, we make this a universal tour so that everybody that comes on board can get the audio tour if they choose to take it. We have about a 60% uptake on the audio tour when folks come on board pretty consistently. And we offer it in English, Chinese, Spanish, French, and Japanese and German. One of the nice things that we really enjoy about the podcatcher platform is the back end. Really great, easy to look at dashboard. You can see an example of ours here up on the screen. My favorite part of this is on my far right of the dashboard is the total number of stories told since we started with the Guide ID system. Over 23 million. And that's pretty awesome because that's what we're here to do. We're here to tell stories about the ship and about the folks that served on her. And this is just proof every day that we're meeting our mission in that regard. And again, lots of other great audio guide data can be found on your dashboard. Then you can drill down into more specific reports if you like to give you more information. We'll talk a little more about that. Of course, we're about the tail end of COVID here in San Diego. Things are starting to open up in California, but it's been a year, and we were really curious when we reopened last July, on July 1st, what was going to happen with the audio tour. We made the decision to continue to distribute our hardware, the podcatchers. We also made it very easy for folks to very quickly get to our mobile website through Guide ID, through a simple QR code scan. And we were kind of thinking that a lot of people would prefer during COVID to use their own device and download our audio right onto their phone. And that turned out not to be true. Very few people actually interacted with the mobile tours. Most people, again, preferred the provided piece of hardware even during COVID. Of course, we took great pains to make sure that the guides were clean, that people saw us cleaning the guides. Very simple to clean. It's a very small unit. And so people felt really comfortable with the cleanliness of our equipment and continued to take it, right throughout COVID. Some of the stats you can find in the back end of the Guide ID system, the types of languages that are being used. Again, in the past, we didn't really have any visibility into this, and we found some interesting things. Obviously, we're going to be predominantly an English-speaking audio tour site. Chinese pre-COVID was a really big market for us, and we could see that show up here on our audio tour usage stats. And it's funny, Japanese was one of the first audio languages that we went to, and we had anticipated that we would have a lot of uptake on that, and it's really dropped off over the years. So you can see the trends in the international market right here in front of you on your audio tour usage. Another nice thing that the audio tour system does for us is that it allows us to see what people are listening to, what are they interested in, and it can give us a lot of information about maybe things are not in the space that you want them to have, so that they get good listening uptake. So this was our top 10 overall in 2019, and a couple interesting things to note. Our number 4 top audio tour stop, most listened to, was a very simple stop. A story we had, we actually didn't have on our old audio tour, but we had recorded it a long time ago. Very simple, about a sailor talking about life below decks when you're out at sea for months at a time and you never see daylight and you're just wandering these passageways. And we found a spot on our tour route which was kind of it was a long passageway and there wasn't much to see there. And we put our audio tour stop there and didn't think people would really pay much attention to it, but they have. It's the 4th most listened to stop on our tour. I'll play you a sample of it right now, just a little bit.
Continue walking through the passageway. Part of life on board is getting used to life in the belly of the ship.
One time I was down below where I didn't see the sun for about a week and a half to 2 weeks. And the only way I could tell whether it was day or night was whether they had the red or the white lights on and what they served for the meals, because they always serve eggs and bacon and ham and that sort of thing for breakfast. So at night they turn on the red lights in case you have to go outside up onto the flight deck, then you can adapt your eyes to it.
So again, a very simple story, but it really resonates with our guests who are wanting to learn more about what life was like at sea while they walk around our ship. And also, additionally, number 6 was our engine room stop, and we had changed the way we accessed the engine room right at the beginning of our new audio tour, and there was a lot of talk about less people were going to go down to the engine room because of the new route that we were taking, and some of our docents that are particularly passionate about engineering were predicting that nobody would go down there, and that turned out also not to be true. It's the 6th most listened to stop, and so it helped provide some really concrete proof of concept for tour route changes, and it's very simple with this particular system to move things around. There are no numbers, so you can actually literally take an audio tour stop and put it anywhere you want. We actually move our aircraft around on the flight deck a lot, and previously with the numbered system, that would really mess people up when they couldn't go from one number to number in sequence, even though they didn't have to. So this makes it much easier all the way around. And let's see. Another thing that you get to look at is, how long are people listening to each individual stop? When are they dropping off? Are they dropping off? And of course, we found probably something that would be intuitive, but now you have actual proof behind it. The longer the stop, the less people are going to listen to it. So when we are making new stops or recording new stories, we try to keep that top of mind, that people that are on vacation, we are mostly a tourist destination. Their attention span is going to be a little more limited than they probably would be any other time. So we don't want to make a really long stop that will make them just kind of drop off a minute and a half in. So we keep them short, and we keep them stories about the ship. And if they want to get more information or have more facts or figures, that's what we have our volunteer docents around the ship to do. They've all been trained extensively in the aircraft carrier history and the workings of the ship. And so they can provide that information to our guests in more detail, one-on-one. Because at the end of the day, it's really, again, whether you use Guide ID or use any other type of audio tour equipment, getting that equipment to your guests so that they can hear these stories is the really most important thing. It's about the stories, and these are some of our great volunteers who in the recording studio. Larry Renner there on the top, our narrator, has flown every aircraft that's on board the ship. Some really great people involved, and we're proud to share their stories every day in a meaningful but simple way. And in our case, our guests actually love the equipment. It's easy to use. They don't know what to call it. Guide ID calls it a podcatcher, which is kind of a cute little name. It's been called an audio tour thingy, the necklace, audio tour pack, a little radio. One of our hardest things with these players is that at the end of the tour, kids are a little reluctant to give them back up. They really love the magic little box and they want to take it with them. So we have to do a lot of gentle separation of the equipment with some of our children visitors when they're on board. But we've been really happy with audio tours in general for the length of the time we've been open, and Guide ID has just made it an even better experience for our guests.